My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine, and I am your host. For those of you tuning in, and this is your first time, Exit Team is a show that takes recovery right into your living room. I'm a person in long-term recovery. My co-host is?
I'm Bobby.
Bobby.
Yeah, or were you asking if I'm in recovery?
It doesn't really matter, whatever you want to say.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm Bobby, and I'm also in recovery.
Okay, cool. So today we had a huge victory in mine and Bobby's relationship, and I would just like to share it with the audience. So I was coming from work, and I'm not rich, I'm not a millionaire, so I have to work, and this isn't all that I do with my life, unfortunately.
Weak.
And I know, weak. And I got held up, and so I gave Bobby the opportunity to just go ahead and shoot without me. And Bobby decided to wait. And
Can't do it without you.
it's amazing.
Can't do it without you.
Because I probably would have shot without you.
Selfish and self-centered.
It's
the root of our trouble.
You know what? Like, I got to do things that are right, not maybe what would be done to me.
Oh, there you go.
It's okay.
And that's
it's
why you're a
okay.
better person than I.
Yeah.
It was a huge victory, though. I was really proud of you when I was driving in. I was like, wow, he's going to wait.
Really?
Yeah.
You're surprised?
I was. I'm not lying.
That hurts.
Yeah. I saw the text and I was like, wow, that was nice.
I know, right?
That's like saying, like, yay, Bobby, you tied your shoes. Good job.
Okay, well, that's where my expectations are, so.
Awesome. Fantastic.
It's a happy story.
Me and Bobby fight like brother and sister, so. Who are you?
My name's Pat.
Pat?
Pat Cronin.
Pat Cronin.
Hey.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Boston.
Boston, okay.
No.
Also in recovery. Is that what you're asking?
Sure,
I
hey,
am in recovery.
She's throwing these weird questions out.
Yeah.
you can answer whatever question you want.
They're super vague.
I recently started doing tarot cards, and so like everything is just like left to your own discretion. Whatever you think I imply by it.
Well, I'm happy that I'm here.
Thanks
for having me on.
Okay, so now that I made that awkward,
I know. Yeah. Do you want me to host the show now too?
I mean, Pat, this is your show,
yeah,
right? So from Boston, actually Boston, suburb
I'm
outside.
really from Boston.
Okay,
Because
that's
I'm from West Springfield. We're from West Springfield, but they said Boston 10 minutes ago.
No, exactly.
I'm from West Roxbury, which is a town inside
I still don't get Boston.
So like
Boston still doesn't make
Boston
sense to
police,
me.
right? The Boston police cars are actually in my town, so you know that I'm truly from Boston. That's
Okay.
when you start seeing like Revere and like those kind of things.
Is Revere
you're like,
Boston?
No.
Okay, I don't understand.
Revere's right next to
Can we
Boston.
get a
Yes.
map after the show so you guys can show me what Boston is?
Okay, so
I think of Massachusetts as Boston.
okay, so
It's fair. It's
Yeah.
fair.
So you're from up here though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
and
I'm-
you're from Boston.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a little town outside of Bridgeport, which is
Connecticut.
like yes, so like New York. How do I know Massachusetts more than you?
You really don't know Massachusetts.
I don't know
And
Ma-
you work in Massachusetts.
Stop it. Stop.
This is bad.
Like people ask me questions, I'm like, I don't know, Google it.
Yeah.
Google it. Like if I need to like set up like transport or something like that, I just Google. I literally don't know the geography of Massachusetts at all whatsoever.
It's okay.
So do you not know road names either?
No, absolutely not. I know how to drive. And that's it. That's what I know how to do, and I know how to type.
Good
things.
or
Oh,
So like
depends
if
on who you ask.
she has 100% survival rate.
That is true.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, all things considered.
This is true.
All right. So, Pat, I'm sure you came on purely just to talk to me and Jasmine,
I
right?
love you guys. That's why I'm here.
I know, right?
Let's
But there's
talk
like
recovery.
Yeah, there's like a deeper meaning, right?
Yeah,
of
yeah,
why
of
you
course.
come on. So like, what's a reason that you're just like, you know what? It's a Wednesday. You know, I have. You just said you have a newborn now.
I do.
And
You're a dad?
I am a dad.
Oh my God.
I know.
wow,
right?
don't sound so. I have faith in you.
She knows I'm a dad too, but she wanted to just say it again.
Wow, that was mean.
It's all right. Jasmine's on a roll. She's been sick the past few days, so she's
thank
not
you.
herself.
Okay.
I also made a research.
So yeah,
check
I had
before
to
coming in here,
arrange some
so-
stuff to make this actually happen because of my daughter and
And you live
daycare
a pretty decent amount away. What, 2 hours or so?
it took us a little over an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do a lot of this kind of stuff just because there's such a stigma around addiction.
I was gonna say, didn't you get like Recovery Advocate of the Year or something?
2000, I was nominated, but I didn't actually.
Okay,
get
nominated
it.
for Recovery
Yeah,
Advocate.
but
of
it was
the
the
Year.
national organization, so someone like
Okay.
out west got it or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
So,
in the
which
top
tells
3.
me that you stay in the trenches.
Yeah.
And why is this so meaningful to you?
I mean, quite honestly, like when I first got sober, people were dying, but it wasn't at this rate.
Yeah.
And as my time went on in sobriety, maybe like a couple of years into it, it started getting worse. But I was like so like gung ho into like recovery that I started just having conversations with families that really started bothering me about like them losing their kids. So I just kind of started getting that attitude of like, why isn't like anything on the bigger picture being done? And the more and more I started looking into it, it was like all about people being like shameful and people like stigma around addiction, people not wanting to talk about it. So how is anything going to change, especially at like a state level or national level, policy-wise, if no one's going to talk about it? So I said, listen, everybody knew I was a junkie. Everybody knew I was a drug addict, so I'm not going to hide this. Like, you know, whether you like me or you don't, I know I'm sober now, so like I'm going to try to use that as a platform that like everybody knew me in this like awful state and the kind of stuff I did. And then now,
Do you have any before pictures?
yeah.
I would love to see them.
Yeah,
I got rid of all mine.
If you go like online and look at some of the like news articles I've done down in Boston for like whatever WHDH or CBS, I know the Lester Holt show, when they came into Northeast and did an interview on me, they asked for that kind of stuff. So I had to actually go back and like see like my brother's wedding. I was in my brother's wedding. Not good.
Yeah.
And I had some crazy. I used to have like the blonde frosted tips. You can laugh.
So
You
wait,
can laugh.
hold on though.
Yes. Here we go.
No.
We can talk about this for an hour.
No. Okay, so what year was this though?
It was actually yesterday.
Because we have a mutual friend that had frosted tips in 2016. I think it's a power move.
2016.
I think somebody should bring back frosted tips.
Mine was in like probably like the late 90s, 2000.
Okay, so that's acceptable.
Yes.
You know, it was part of the time.
2016. I didn't even know that you could do it
Did,
still.
did you have like a puka shell necklace? I feel like you were that kind of guy.
I was. Yeah. So I know it's hard to. I hope that it's hard to picture me like that from before, but it's funny that you say that because I did have to kind of go back and get some pictures for them, and I looked at some of them and I was like, I looked like I was dying. Like I was dying, but like literally I looked like very unhealthy. So yeah, so I just, I started doing stuff like that, but it was more so that I felt like, because I mean, I got sober, 12-step programs and stuff like that too. And I think that, there was just like a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding on what I could do in the public and what I can't.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, I know what I can and what I can't do. I don't think enough people knew that. And I just said, I'm just going to, take a leap of faith and do some stuff. And then the more and more I started doing it, I say, wow, there's a lot of other people that can do this too.
There's like a pretty big movement going on these days. There's a lot of people. You brought up an interesting point, stigma. And so what I know of you is I only know you present day. I didn't know you back then, but I'm honored and privileged to know a little bit of your story. And so what I know of is that you didn't come from a home that someone would think that you would end up being a drug addict. Whereas someone like myself, I became a product of my environment. My mom was a drug addict. I was introduced to that lifestyle at a very young age. So to touch on stigma, like what happened, like where in your life, like let's bring us back to like before you started using, like where in your life did it, because there's a lot of shame and like, I hear, so I'm writing this big blog right now on like Narcan and like how Narcan is beneficial because there's a lot of controversy around like Narcan being like a negative thing and like these junkies and this and that. And like, so people think like, like these like junkies and like there's losers and they're not meant to be anything. And in my case, like that's kind of how I grew up and how I felt about myself always. But in your case, you grew up in a very different environment.
And I think to the blog thing, when you finish that, will you send it to me so I can put it on my website?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's another reason why I kind of did this too, because I had that misconception of that like drug addicts and alcoholics only came from like the background you talk about. You know what I mean? So growing up in, West Roxbury, a town in Boston where it was, middle, upper, I guess that's what you consider. I went to private Catholic schools. I think that a lot of people, I think, have honestly died that were in my position because they think that like that they couldn't talk about that, or they were so judged that like they didn't seek help because of where they came from, what school they went to, and these poor kids died because of that.
Right.
So I think that when you see,
You think it's harder? For you, I never even thought of that.
well,
till you
people
said
think that,
that
people, and I'm not saying we're not rich or anything like that, but if you come from a decent family or a wealthy family or in a nice town or stuff like that, you can automatically just have all these resources and you just get sober and all that. No, I think it's opposite.
Yeah, like you don't want to bring shame to your family name.
Yeah, and you have to like,
and nobody talks about where you went camping for a week or a
and
month.
you're so looked down upon. Like I know that like my street in the town I grew up in, it was like I used to have to like walk out of my house and like I knew everyone was looking at me, but I looked not good. And like in a town like that, it was so embarrassing and shameful.
Because people had different expectations of you. Okay.
High expectations, and I think that's another piece of like where I went to school and then high school and then college, and it was like, oh, this kid can't become a drug addict, like all this kind of nonsense. So
there's so much pressure to this ideal that you must live up to that isn't true to who you are.
And when I did internal work on myself, I always talk about that. Like I was trying to be someone that I didn't want to be for a long time before sobriety, or maybe before using. Like I was this. Like I didn't want to be this person, and it's not my parents' fault. It's nothing like that. It's just like the product of the environment that I grew up in. That this expectation was this, and that's just not.
And it's painful.
Yeah, it's
very crazy
painful.
because I'm the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where people always told me I'd be nothing, and that was painful. And our pain is the same, and we're complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
And to have this like misunderstanding that like, because I had Sunday dinners, because I pitched for baseball teams and my dad was there all the time, that like you can't become a drug addict. Like but we didn't have the education back then. Like things are different now. Like
the idea of a drug addict was you're homeless, you're living. It's not I'm sniffing pills in my room.
Right.
It's not even like that anymore. I mean, like 14-year-olds are shooting fentanyl now.
Did you see the district judge down in like North Carolina died of an overdose?
Yeah, I posted on my page. I saw that, and I was just like, I mean, I've seen crazy stories, but like when I read that, I was like,
it's everywhere,
a judge.
Dude. It's everywhere.
A judge.
And you want to talk about stigma, right? Like he's a judge. He probably felt like he couldn't reach out for help because of who he is in the public eye. And, right? And like, and what a perfect thing to realize that like this disease doesn't care who you are, where you come from, and what you're going through it, and what an advocate that you are to be a person for that, to be like, it's okay, whoever you are, whatever you're going through, like there's resources there for you, and we love you. Like that, I don't know, this is all just assumption, but I feel like if I was a judge, I'd feel like I couldn't reach out.
Yeah, no,
you know?
You feel like your job's on the line,
Stigma,
all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's
if he has an illness that needs to be treated, he should be able to. And he didn't. Now, obviously, we don't know, but like that's a pretty fair assumption because we hear these stories all the time.
2 weeks ago, we had so New Hampshire has a movement called the Recovery Friendly Workforce, and so what they're doing is they're going into facilities and trying to get them to become recovery friendly. That means like whether one of your employees is struggling from substance use, they can come to you and know that they won't get terminated, or like that they will still like be able to get because some jobs you do have to let people go because. You know what I mean? It could be harmful. Of
course.
Yeah.
But that they'll be supported through that, you know what I mean, to help end stigma, and also what they're doing is they're trying to encourage facilities to hire people in recovery to help end stigma. And I thought that was a beautiful thing.
It is. Those are the kind of things that like, obviously we know we have treatment out there and we need this and we need that, but those kind of like other like type of services that like don't get talked about enough is huge for people like us. Because like you go to detox, you get treatment, like we can't stay sober without other services.
You learn how to stand, but who's going to help you walk?
Right.
Exactly. And it's okay, so I can go to a treatment center 18 times, right? But if I don't have support when I leave, like I'm done.
Yeah.
And it's not even just, okay, there's like recovery meetings I can go to, there's IOPs I can go to. Like I need to feel like I'm going back to an environment that supports me, right? And that starts at the community level, that starts at the family level, and like a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need purpose. You need to treat the whole person.
And we need support.
Within time too, of course. People always try and rush back to those things, and it's like, whoa.
Well, and for this stuff to happen too, it usually has to happen on a state-wide level in regards to like government. So this is the reason why I think that like certain language we use and like how we approach politicians or how we approach, the way that we speak about recovery, because these services and different types of, recovery-related, instances that we want to change, those are the people, they have all the power.
Right. If I walk in there with a
Yeah.
street mentality, which I definitely have, I'm from the streets.
Yeah,
like
no,
they're just gonna dismiss everything I say. But if I walk in there and like I have like a very valid reason and speech for them, and I'm educated in what I say, they're gonna hear me out.
I just want to people know how I was, and I ended up on the streets. I wasn't, I didn't like stay living in my parents' household as an active heroin addict. At some point, they got help, and they said, "Okay, there's the door." So like I did get, and it's not a fun feeling living out there in that kind of.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Yeah. But what I learned was like I can still, when I'm just hanging around with you and people like off camera, the street will come out in me, but I'm just kind of sitting around. But when like
Pat.
yeah, I want.
It happens.
I mean, from how you were like being homeless, shooting heroin, and stealing and all that kind of stuff to now, certain people need to see how we've changed.
Yeah.
And whether that's, okay, you got married, you have a baby, or you have a job, you pay taxes, all that kind of stuff. We're not asking people to be fake. Because the point is you are supposed to change when you're in recovery, right?
I was about to say, like if we want to get these policies changed, all that kind of stuff, let's show them what recovery actually is, right? And recovery is just like you said, you're part of your family, you're paying taxes, you're being, I don't want to say what's expected,
Right.
but you're being the person that you want to show, hey, this is possible, that we can take this person that was homeless, shooting dope, stealing everything, to you're speaking to government, state officials.
You can honor your truth, whatever it is. Like,
Yep.
Pat's a very successful businessman, family man. I live at home alone with my snake. Whatever. But I love that. I wouldn't change that.
But I've been sober a while. I lived alone in sobriety too. I lived in a sober house for like 2 years. So how long you been sober?
2.5 years. Almost 3 years. 3 years and a couple days.
I wasn't hosting a show at 2.5 years sober. Like, she actually has a way better life than I did at 2.5 years sober.
I'm also not interested in a relationship. It's so crazy, right? Like, do you think like early recovery, but like I'm just not interested in that. Like, I'm just like set on like self-discovery and exploring self and like going over all these obstacles, and like literally like my snake is like my man, dude. He's the
Listen,
best.
I'm an animal guy. You don't have to tell me.
See,
I'm not a
snake guy. I like dogs.
But it makes her unique.
It does.
She's just chilling. She chills with her snake like it's a dog.
Snakes, they creep me out.
They
creep me out, dude. Like, I don't like the woods.
Nah.
I don't like the woods.
You come meet Zen.
Yeah.
He is very docile and gentle.
What's his name again?
Zen.
I'm not. I'll play with a dog all day.
Yeah.
Like, I'll play fetch with a dog.
Aren't you a doggy person? Are you a dog person
I am
too?
a dog person.
You're an everything person.
Yes. Yeah.
Just more.
Yeah. Right?
More God. Get in here.
No, dogs.
He lets
Dog-
you,
dogs.
He lays on your lap and he lets you pat his head.
Dogs.
Okay.
Dogs. They freak me out.
Yeah.
They freak me out. They don't have eyes.
But out of anybody to get one, it would be you. So.
Yeah, he's the man. Yeah, he's good.
You know what? Live your truth.
Right, and that's it, right? Then that's exactly it. Like I'm living my truth, and I'm a better person, and I can honor my truth. Like even though my outside things look different, like I'm still guided by spiritual principles, and like causing harm to someone isn't okay with me. Do I still cause harm? Yes, of course, but not intentionally.
Right.
And when I become aware that I've caused harm, I go back and I write that. It doesn't feel okay to my soul today. And those are the things that guide me, and that's what makes me an asset to society today, and that's what people need to see. Like,
that's the other thing I tell people, like, especially the ones that are like not even in it, but like new or can't, like, they get sober and then don't. I'm like, if you understand how much you can crush it in this world sober, and I'm not even like material things, of course, everyone likes those, but it's just like to not wake up and have that like obsession or feel dope sick. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, and it's just to give that hope to these people, like, when they see you at, like, the State House, or they see you, like, the event that we did.
Yeah.
There's, like, hopeless
I
people,
loved
like,
that
going,
event.
those guys used to be messes, and we're not.
Yeah.
No, it's that thing. It's like when I'll say it, and you guys will both, understand it, but I get to wake up today not angry that I woke up today.
Yes, I do get that.
You know what I mean? And, like, normal people are like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and
They don't get it.
no, but the fact that I wake up like, nice, I woke up. Like,
Yeah.
that's just huge. That's enough right there.
Yeah.
Material stuff, that could whatever. But, like, the fact that I wake up happy is pretty cool.
And every day, obviously, like, I mean, I'm pretty much happy a lot. You look like you're always happy too. But listen, I have bad days. Like, there's days I don't sleep because of the baby, and there's a lot of things. But I still look and go, I just need to take a picture of myself 15 years ago and be like, come on, dude. Like, anything is better than that life. You know what I mean? And if you put the work in, like I said, I'm still 12-step, whatever.
Yep.
But they taught me to come outside the box. So
Yep.
what I think is I just try to get people like, hey, you don't have to do what we do.
Yep.
But I bet you'll probably feel better if you do.
And whatever you choose, I love you.
Yeah,
But, like,
no doubt. But
Yeah.
we can make a huge.
It's your journey. I'll be there to help walk you
Right.
through it, but, like, I can't push you through
Yeah.
it.
I spend my life.
We can make such a, this movement, and I always hear people talk about it, like what they did for the AIDS movement, like years ago. I think Richie always talks about it. Like, we're doing this for recovery, and we need to keep rallying people to help us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not getting any better either. Overdose rates are up, and for the state of New Hampshire, I'll just talk about New Hampshire because that's where I reside. But
that's the only place you know, obviously.
we started all like the hub and spokes, and there's a really big MAT movement, and so there was a drop in overdoses at the beginning of the year, and fatal overdoses, and people got very excited. They were like, yeah, but since then they've skyrocketed. You know what I mean? Like, for us as a state collectively, like, it's not getting any better.
And I think obviously fentanyl is playing a huge role in that nothing's heroin anymore. And like people are asking me, they're like, well, with all this new
fentanyl
stuff,
also, so buprenorphine doesn't block fentanyl. So with all the hub and smokes and everything we have going on, like harm reduction, and we are saving lives, absolutely, but that doesn't block fentanyl.
So I think if you circle back to try to figure out or research like what's happening, because people are always coming up to me because I speak in schools too. They're like, if there's so much recovery going on and there's so many treatment centers opening now, why is the rates? And from what I see and like looking at
Dislocation theory.
it's more people are using though. So like I think we got more.
And why are more people using?
The education is not starting at the right
Well,
level.
not only
too.
that, dislocation theory, society suggests that like we are also disconnected from one another. How many hours a day are you in your phone? How many hours a day am I in my emails? How many
that's
hours-
true. I'm sure that's true.
So disconnected from self, disconnected from others, disconnected from a higher power, whatever that may be, disconnected from the earth itself. The earth is alive. How many of us have a relationship with that?
But I'm sure you know too, when you were in school, you probably just got, don't do drugs, they're bad.
Yeah,
So
I
like,
got the
education
dare.
had to, the education, and
I
it
really
has,
want a
but
dare t-shirt, by the
Education
way.
has to change big time. on
Mine
this.
has burn holes in it.
I really want. I'm gonna order one after the show. I want
Mine
one.
has a bunch
The
of burn
conversation
holes
needs
in
to
it.
start, and it's not just us going into schools. It needs to be the family. The
So the-
family can't be afraid to talk
The
about this.
conversation does
Yes.
need to start around educating people, but here's the truth. At the end of the day, education, what I know doesn't keep me sober. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And what I do, the 12-step allows me to build connection, and that's what I really lack in my life. And as a society, we've become disconnected. So as the education piece, what do? What happens in that? You build connection.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. After school,
We need
whatever the
we need more connection with
activities.
spiritual
Yeah.
beings.
No, and we need just stronger community supports.
Yeah.
It's everybody's just gone.
I feel like when you were in like high school too, like when you saw like cliques and you thought, oh, like the jocks, right? They have to drink. They're the drinkers. Like that shouldn't be a perception that we have for our kids. There should be this okay like perception when you're in school that like you don't have to do that kind of stuff to have fun. But I think there's just so many different techniques that you can use. But like you said, I think it's connection with people. People need to be, but that's where it gets frightening.
We're such a
I was playing in the
materialistic
dirt.
society.
I was playing in the dirt outside with like shovels when I was a kid. Now, like you said, they're all playing Xbox and they're all doing this. So it's probably going to be a lot more
and
difficult.
Suicide rates are getting higher, addiction rates are getting higher, mental illness rates are getting higher, everything's getting higher, and we're becoming more disconnected. You take a look at something like a simple foundation of a 12-step fellowship, right? Like, what does that provide? That provides connection through one another. Do I have a connection with a higher power at the beginning? No, but absolutely over time, as I connect with you, I learn to connect with self. As I connect with self, I realize that there's something greater than me happening, you know? That's why I'm a huge advocate for people to join these like recovery programs.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, it's just think about how much do you really know about the people that live around you?
Depending on on who we're talking about.
No, but seriously, like I don't know my neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
I don't know.
Like
I don't-
actually
No.
living.
Yeah, the
No.
only people I know in the community are like people in the recovery community.
That's true, me too.
You
My
know,
neighbor brought
I-
my cat back once. That was really nice of her.
Well, I think sometimes we think that like only people in recovery are good people because we're so consumed by that. And
Yeah.
I've met some pretty solid non-recovery people.
It's all we know because we're told that
course.
those are the people that we need
I
to
also
hang out
live in
with.
a pretty questionable neighborhood, so I try to avoid my
Same.
neighbors.
You? No way.
I do.
Same.
I do. You see the police on like in my apartment complex most nights. Yeah.
Well, then you're gonna be that walking.
I am the person that usually calls the cops.
Do you?
I have to. Like when things are getting questionable and unsafe outside, someone's going to be the person.
Yeah.
But you remember, like over the winter, there were 2 kids overdosed outside of my
Yeah,
house. Do you remember
I
that?
remember that.
And my neighbors were like, "Oh, they've been like that for a while." And I was like, "You effing idiots!" I went off on the neighborhood. 2 kids just overdosed.
Do you have
hanging
Narcan
out-
at your place?
I do have Narcan, yeah. And they were just
I carry it around
hanging
everywhere, man.
Yeah, I keep it
outside
in my
their window.
briefcase.
And no one in my neighborhood, because my neighborhood is so used to minding their own business and staying in their own lane, that no one did anything to help those individuals. Granted, we were able to revive them, but it was a really scary situation.
Yeah.
So, that is your camera.
Hi.
Anyone watching, struggling, actually, first of all, let's start if it's a family member of a loved one and their loved one is struggling with substance use disorder. What do you have to say to the family? Because like your family got well before you. So what do you
Yeah.
have to say to a family member who's watching this tonight and like their heart's broken because their loved one is struggling with this?
Well, from my experiences with families, because that's what I do a lot of family interventions now, is I tell them being a part, just like we get sober with our people, I say, you need to get into some type of networking or support with other parents that have been through it. Hopefully some parents that have made it through the other side and their kids sober,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always have to be like that. So I first start with that, and then I kind of say it doesn't always hurt actually to be involved with someone like myself or another person in recovery, because we know now from being sober maybe what our loved one or our parents were doing that might have been more enabling. So I can teach these families that like, hey, you know what, my mother was doing that for me, and it actually, kind of, I don't want to say made me worse, but it
kept me going.
kept me going.
It's
It kept
called
me
raising
going.
the bottom.
Right.
Let's raise the bottom, you know.
If I have a safety net, why am I going to be afraid?
Right.
Yeah. And then obviously, if it comes to that point where someone needs treatment or detox, obviously they know I'll do whatever it takes to help them get in somewhere. And then I don't, I follow everybody I help, I follow them through, and I'm always trying to check up. And then sometimes, when the kid gets sober, they're like, oh, you're always checking in with my parents. I said, hey, bro, it's not just, it's not just about you. I said, it's not just about you. I said, do you know what you did to your family for the past 10 years? I said, I'm helping them too. And their face is like, because I know what I did to my parents. I literally like destroyed them for years. So I don't want them to think they can just do that to their parents.
So we're out of time. So if you're struggling or you need any resources, reach out to Pat. Pat, what's a phone number someone can contact you at? Do you know it?
So I probably should know the 1-800 number, but just go online and Google Northeast Addictions Treatment Center and they'll help you.
Okay,
No
all
matter
right.
what, insurance, no insurance, they'll help you find somewhere.
If you're struggling or anything and you need to reach out to Pat, you can look him up on social media. You can message us on I am a heroin addict. You can shoot us a message and we can, Bobby, myself, or if you want Pat's contact, we can send it to you. Thank you for watching, and as always, we love you. My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery.
Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine, and I am your host. Exit Team is a show that brings recovery right into your living room. As always, it's an honor to be joined by our co-host, Bobby.
Hi, how you doing?
Bobby, your hair's phenomenal today.
Listen, I knew my friend Henny was going to be watching, so I was like, I had to throw some stuff in my hair. Because I got to be the best for Henny. He's amazing.
Okay, all right. Well, your hair looks great. I can always tell when things are going well for you because your hair is on point.
It's a good barometer of my my overall well-being.
How's mine look?
It's an overall barometer.
Okay, all right, good.
You know,
'cause I've been deathly ill for days. Today's like my first day out of bed being a human. So.
Well, I mean, you're doing well then.
Thank you. How are my eyebrows?
On point.
That's
What
how
do the
you
kids
know.
call it?
On fleek.
On
The
fleek?
brow
Is that
bone.
Yeah,
is that what the
pretty lit.
kids call it?
You are the kids, bro.
You are.
I know.
I'm 35.
Yo, fall back.
So do you see all the grays?
Not with the nice hairdo.
I know, right? Oh, she's good. She's good.
She's picking up what you're putting down.
We've got to bring her on more often.
Okay. Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
So, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
I've known you for a little bit, but I don't actually know your story.
Yeah.
So I'm like really excited to learn more about you because we do a lot of work together.
Yep.
So it's always better when you get to know someone on a more personal level.
Absolutely.
So what brings you to the show?
Well, thank you guys for both having me. So I'm really very, very grateful to be here. My story, like through my struggles with addiction, I started pretty early on, and there was no reason like for me to drink a drug, none whatsoever, the way that I did. Like it said, like I loved the way it made me feel. Like I was an insecure child. I was fearful. I was scared. I excelled at a lot of things, but like nothing like made me feel good.
Yeah.
Like drinking and drugging did. When I started, at the time that I had started and I had picked up opiates, I was at a very young age. I was at like early teens, and my brother was already a full-blown opiate addict.
Yeah.
So back in like 97, 98, 99, my brother really started to dabble in OxyContin. So firsthand, like I saw the effects of drug addiction and like what it does to families. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I will never do that. Like this is the perfect example of like what not to do. Here it is in front of you, the pain, the anguish, the sadness, the misery, like all laid out in front of you. And like all you need to do is just not do that. And I did it probably far worse than he ever did it.
Yeah.
He was the first one I got high with, and like I said, like I loved the way it made me feel. And from that point on,
How old were you?
I was 14.
14, okay.
Yeah. And that was just with OxyContin.
Okay.
Because that was like my love. Like,
That's what was around back then.
Yeah.
Those are the real ones.
Yeah. So like drinking, smoking weed, all those things came into play. And like I said, when I tried it, I wasn't scared to try the next thing. I was searching for that feeling and hoping to find it once again. And, lo and behold, I didn't find it until I found recovery. But my story is pretty like, quick paced. I got high a lot. And I went off to college and I was at Salve Regina in the following year. I was in my first detox. So I was in nursing school at 18, and at 19 I was, down in Plymouth at my first detox. And I remember feeling the sense of like, this will never happen again. That hopelessness, that sadness, that loneliness, that guilt, shame, like this isn't gonna be my life. And it was for a long time, dozens and dozens of detoxes later, and maintenance and halfway houses and sober living and everything that I tried and tried and tried, and I kept getting high and I didn't understand why, and that state of like powerlessness and hopelessness really hit like when I was pregnant with my daughter and in 2009, and I couldn't stay sober. It brought so much pain and so much guilt and so much shame, but it fueled my addiction because it gave me relief because I couldn't deal with stepping away to use drugs over my own child. Most normal people would be like, do whatever you got to do, get back, and I couldn't.
But it's not that easy.
No.
You know what I mean? Especially if we have this thing. You know, it doesn't respond to logic or reason, because if it did, then I wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Would you be sitting here?
No.
It sounds like you wouldn't be sitting here either. Right. You know, it's not just something of like, oh, just stop getting high. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot more that goes into it. It's not just some kind of moral failing.
Right, but you didn't know that.
No.
You didn't know that is what it sounded like. So you're
Right.
full of like guilt and shame, and what better to numb out the guilt and shame that's so hard to live with and carry.
Then the drugs that have
and-
taken me to that.
And
guilt
then,
and
then
shame.
you're like, I'm such a loser. I'm like, why am I
Yep.
using? And it's like that vicious cycle. And for a lot of people, if they've never experienced it, they don't know what we're talking about. But when you shared that, I was like, my heart hurt, because like I knew what it was like. For me, I knew what it was like to have this disease, but I didn't know at the time that I had this disease, and like the self-hatred that came with it, because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and how I like really didn't want to live this way, but I couldn't escape it.
Exactly.
You know.
And that was the big thing. It got to a point when like I didn't want to continue to get high, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to live with drugs. I didn't want to live without them. I couldn't deal head on with all the pain and, everything that I'd caused in my life. And I didn't really know what to do. Like I had said, I'd probably spent more time in treatment than I did actually getting high. That I thought, like, this is it. I'm that hopeless case. I'm that hopeless alcoholic, and I'm
constitutionally incapable.
Yep, exactly. And,
Wow.
and
That was good.
I know, we're doing good.
yeah. And that was, a big part, a long time of my journey. I was embarrassed of
Yep.
being a mom. I was embarrassed of stepping away, I was stepping away from my child and being okay.
Stigma
okay
again,
with it.
right?
Yeah.
Like stigma, like
Right.
I'm a mom, I must behave a certain way. I'm a parent, like I can't have this disease. Shame on me if I do. Shame on me for doing the things that I do. Yeah.
And and I surrounded myself with people who thought that I was in the right. The people that I was getting high with, that made me feel good about myself. Like, you're a good mom, and they shouldn't have taken her, and they shouldn't have done this. In all reality, when my parents stepped in, it was one of the greatest blessings of my entire life.
Yeah.
Because my daughter's beautiful, she's healthy, she's happy. She's been given this stable life, even when I wasn't around. And I was unable to see that. Selfish, self-centered Sarah. It was
Yeah.
poor me.
Yeah.
You're going to make me forget how to be a mom. My child's never going to remember me. All these things, and I couldn't see the other side. And I was unwilling to at the time. I was very unwilling to take a look at myself. I wanted to look at everyone else's part, besides my own.
So, by 19, you were in your first detox. Sounds like there was a lot of pain and suffering. How many years did the cycle go on for until you were able to find your way to long-term recovery?
So that went on for about 10 years, and
Okay.
it was in and out of treatment. My daughter was born in 2010, and after she was born, I was put on maintenance, and I stayed on that for a few years. But I never did it.
The right
It was
way?
laid out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I know,
was
right?
The benzos, it was the cocaine, it was,
Everything else.
everything else.
It's like,
Yeah.
when I first got sober, I was so anti-maintenance due to my own personal experience with maintenance, and how I couldn't understand what was wrong with me, and how these doctors had prescribed me this drug that was going to make me better, and I wasn't. I was still suffering. And
Yep.
but now I'm a little bit more open-minded, and I see people actually use maintenance the way they're supposed to, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
That's same. I'm like, I think I was worse on the maintenance than when I was.
It's not meant for everyone.
No.
It's really not.
No, and it's also. Did you really want to be sober when you were on maintenance?
No, I think honestly, I was backed into a wall. It was the easy way out at the time. I had a brand new baby, and I was willing to try kind of whatever it took. This was the easier, softer way for me at this time, because then people got off my back a little bit more. They weren't really, I was prescribed this medication as opposed to buying it on the street.
Well, I want to clarify what I said, because I think anytime I've done a maintenance drug or anything like that, it was just because okay, this is going to get me through to getting high next. I didn't actually want to be better.
Right.
That's kind of what I meant, because I've seen a lot of people that want to get better and they use maintenance and they actually use it correctly and they do get better.
Baffles me.
Well, you know what? It's there's more than one path.
I know, right?
You know
it was
what I
not
mean?
my experience with maintenance, nor could it ever be, because that's just the kind of addict and alcoholic that I am.
Yeah. And that was kind of my thing. I never really saw it as a long-term thing. It was just, I was just trying to get by day.
Yeah.
And that's what it did for me. Is it got me through one day to the next, maybe the next. I didn't pick up.
Yeah.
But most of the time I did. You know.
Yeah.
So and that went on for quite a while, and finally got to the point when, you know, my daughter was taken from me and she was 3.5. And I was homeless, I was jobless. I didn't speak to my mom for quite some time, because now, as like families and loved ones do, they step in and step up to take care of everything that like we've destructed.
Yeah.
You know, she took her off a bottle, she potty trained her, she took her to daycare the first time. You know, all the things that like at the time they were irrelevant in my life. You know, she got taken away, and it was almost as if there was like a weight lifted off me and I could get high how I wanted to. Because now you know, she wasn't there as a daily reminder, and I could like numb that pain. And it sounded, for a long time, I could never speak about it, because it sounded like cold, and it sounded like, you know, mean, but it was like the reality, and I had to like open my mind to the fact that like, this is it. Like she's not gonna keep you sober. You would die for this child. And like, you cannot live for her. I could not stay sober for her.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a tough pill to swallow, and I think it took me a little bit longer to get back, because I was unwilling. So, like I said, the homelessness, the overdoses, the PCs, in and out of treatment, getting people's hopes up, breaking them down again, visiting my daughter, leaving treatment the next day, you know, all these things, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. You know, I was not happy. I was more miserable sober than I was not sober.
Yeah.
I was crazier sober than I was not sober. Like, it was just like this, you know, I don't know, I felt like I was in this nightmare, and I had to escape it. And I had to escape it with drugs and alcohol, because it was the only thing I knew for like any sort of relief. So when I got sober, I didn't really want to be sober. But once again, like treatments, institutions, detoxes, like that's what was easy for me. I liked going into those places. I liked to be around people that I knew were going to be there. I knew that, you know, my family would eventually drop me off cigarettes, and, you know, maybe I'd get a call with my daughter after a couple weeks, like all those things that...
Know how to operate.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
It's comfortable.
You know, it's not ideal, but it's like, oh, I know how to deal with this.
Right.
I know how to play the system if I need to play the system. I know what I'm going to get out of what I do.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I went in, and for the first time, you know, I had been in several support groups and everything. I had been shown a way. I had been given suggestions. I was just like very unwilling to do any of those things. And someone sat down with me, and they, you know, went through one-on-one, and for the first time in my life, I thought maybe there was a solution to like everything that I had been struggling with. I didn't truly believe, but like I had faith that if I continued to go, maybe things would get better. I had seen people tell their stories and, you know, wholeheartedly feel this way about this way of life. And I believed it for the first time. You know, I always thought everyone was full of crap, like, this one isn't sober for 20 years, and this one isn't even sober for 90 days. Because I, you know, like,
You did that thing, like, he still drinks on the weekends.
Yeah.
So, like, yo, she's definitely getting high. Like, come on,
Yeah.
you can't be that happy.
oh yeah, I
Like-
would be in detox, and I'd be like, oh, that girl, she's definitely on something. There's no way she's gonna tell me how to live my
I feel
life.
like I do not want what they have at all. I'm like, that's great. You can have that, because I'm not interested.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, slowly but surely, I found a way of life that I started to get some relief from, you know? And the process into recovery was extremely, extremely painful. It was super uncomfortable. It was very, you know, I had this small window to get a lot of work done, and I had to give it my all if I was gonna, you know, maintain any sort of sobriety. You know, through that, I've been able to like develop a relationship with a higher power. I've been able to see like my part in situations that I'd never been able to see, because for me, like the selfishness was like the root, as I'm sure a lot of, you know, drug addicts and alcoholics, but I couldn't see, you know, my part in anything in my life. You know, I was unwilling to look at it, you know, and through this, I've been able to see it. It's given me a chance to be the human being that I've always wanted to be, which was just like good.
Yeah.
Tell the truth, help other people, you know, be honest, and, you know, keep your side clean. You know, be the person that my parents as a small, you know, child had taught me to be. And I say that a lot, you know, when I speak and I talk to patients, and I don't continuously like do this work because that obsession has been lifted. I do it because it makes me better, you know, every single day. Things come up, anxiety comes up, depression comes up. All those things come up, and like through meditation, through prayer, and through helping others, I'm able to like feel relief in this process. So it's been quite the journey, and like there's struggles, there's trials, tribulations. Like my brother just recently got back into treatment.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters, and you know, both their fathers are drug addicts, and it's been quite the roller coaster. But every day, you know, I go to bed at night and I can't believe how amazing my life is today. The way I feel inside, the way, you know, the opportunities I'm given, even sitting here with you guys. And I was driving up here and I thought, I can't believe, you know, a few years ago, my life looked like North Station, two size of shoes too small.
Yeah.
No money, abscesses, jobless, familyless. And now I'm like, have this opportunity to like do this, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As you were sharing, I just like felt how courageous you are. And like, you know, your experience, although a very painful one, as a woman, like I get to work with a lot of other women, but I don't have children, you know, and as you were just sharing so honestly, I was like, holy cow, like Sarah can help so many women, you know, and to make it through all that and to share honestly. And, you know, like when I have like sponsees call me and they're like, you know, like, I just like, I wish like my mom would take him, or I wish like, so I could go get high. You know what I mean? Like when you share that, like I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because that's the truth, right?
It
And like
is.
you love your child. And like I know that like women that I get to help, like I know that they love their child, but I also know how cunning and powerful this thing is. And like, you know, how it outweighs every outside thing. And like children are an outside thing.
Right.
You know, like we've got to learn how to conquer it on the inside.
Absolutely.
It's not logical.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that you can share about that openly and, you know, on this, so that, like you said, if somebody hears that, they're like, okay, I'm not the only one.
Right, yeah.
Because I
so
know
Sarah's
how
like,
crazy
"Oh."
it was when I was in, you know, a first recovery meeting or first time in treatment, and somebody talked about like how I felt inside. And like they verbalized it, and I looked around and people were nodding. I'm like, wait, hold on. This isn't super weird. I can talk about this.
Yeah.
You know, same thing. You're giving permission for people to actually talk about the issues that keep them sick.
Right.
You know.
That's one of the hardest things, I think. You know, it's tough to be honest, but when I was finally able to share my experience, and like someone came up to me and was like, I've been through the same thing, or I'm currently going through the same thing, it gave like meaning to my pain.
Yeah.
Like it finally was like
Goosebumps again.
a reason for like this pain.
Right.
You know, all these painful moments in my life like have been these like spiritual experiences that I never would have got through before.
Right.
You know, I never would have got through without a needle in my arm. I never would have got through without a bottle in my mouth. Like, and that was just how I lived my life. And I used to think in the beginning, like all the great things, like new job, like new baby, all these things were like, these were the spiritual experiences. And it wasn't until I went through a lot of pain and I'm like, this is the spiritual experience. This is the spiritual experience.
When I'm hitting pain, I'm like, all right, God, we're growing.
Yeah, here we go.
And now there's a lesson now, because like if everything goes great, I don't learn.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if I do a behavior or do something right and like it's negative, but it's not
Right.
like immediately affecting my life, I'm just gonna run it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like, okay, I'm doing this for a reason, probably because it feels good. and until it causes a bunch of pain and blows up and burns me to the ground, I'm not
Yeah.
going to change it.
Right.
Because I'm kind of stubborn.
No way.
See? It works. It works. No, but you're saying, see how our experiences can benefit others.
Right. I think that's one of the.
So what do you do today to help others? Like, how do you help others today?
So today, I am part of a support group. I help a
Okay.
lot of other women.
That's awesome.
I speak at a lot of family meetings.
That's great.
Um,
I just started to go to training to become a family interventionist.
oh, that's awesome.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Mhm. I took the course over the weekend, and it's going to be 6 months to a year before you become licensed. But I'm starting my training to work with families, and I was like, they're going through the training and like the interventionist, because there's many like modalities for recovery.
Right.
And so the type of training that I'm doing is you set one particular goal, and that goal is like you're going to treatment.
Right.
Like there is no I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to go to IOP. It's like,
Yeah.
and so you work with the family how to, teach the family to set boundaries for themselves.
Which
This
is
is about you,
amazing.
and this is how you get well. And so in this particular training, I'm working with the family, teaching the family how to get well. And the goal is that as the family gets well, that they will raise the loved one's bottom, and that the loved one will eventually get well. And so even though I'm going training to be an interventionist, of course the goal is that the loved one gets the treatment, but really like I'm working with the family to help the family have the breakthroughs that they need
Yeah.
to have.
That is like my heart right
It's
there.
so cool.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's been such a a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
It really has. Seeing people like my parents, like who have had my back since the start, that have been through more than I could ever imagine going through. With the loss of my brother and my older brother being in active addiction and me being in active addiction and raising grandchildren, and being there for these parents has been like truly a blessing in my life. Being there for the people like that we destroy, like the victims in this, like has been.
That's like, I'm sure, in this business you get calls from certain patients, clients, whatever you want to call them, parents, like breaking down sobbing.
Yeah.
And then that realization, I don't know if it happens to you, or if it happens to you, I have the realization of like, my mom definitely did this when I was in treatment.
Yeah.
Or my mom definitely did this when I was out.
Right.
And like, I kind of like curl up and then I call my mom after.
I guess I'm not that compassionate.
Yeah.
Good for you though.
I'm sorry.
I'm just like, when I get those phone calls, I'm like, how cool. Like you're calling me and you're exposing your heart, how you want your loved one to change, but like they're not going to change until you change. And so if you want them to change, like what are you willing to give? Because if you keep producing the same environment, they have no reason to not go back to that. And
Exactly.
so it's
Safety
like,
net.
right, like what are you going to give? How are you going to change? What is going to change within you to help them change?
Exactly.
A lot of times people like, they just want like the loved one to go to treatment, and they don't want to change anything else. And it's in the training that I went to over the weekend, they were like, if you have a corner in the house that's full of mold and you keep taking the mold out, what's going to happen? The mold's going to keep growing back. Like you have to go in and like change all the infrastructure. And so they were like, that's what you need to do within the family if you really want the loved one to change. I was like, I love that analogy.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of that. I also work at Northeast Addictions Treatment Center as the alumni director in Quincy.
Okay.
It's been an experience.
Bobby does alumni work.
I do. I started in alumni. Now I'm a community relations manager. So I
Awesome.
oversee the alumni department and I do some outreach. and-
Awesome.
I did alumni for a very short period of time. I started a rockin' alumni
Listen,
program.
Did you?
Yeah.
I love alumni and
I
the
do
fact
too.
of like seeing how they grow and seeing like getting those phone calls of like, yeah, no, like I just got like the job doesn't matter to me.
No.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But hearing how pumped they are about the job because now they're a normal
Yeah.
member of society, like that gets me going because I remember when they came in and they told me to go,
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, but like the fact of like, oh yeah, no, like I just took my kid out to a trampoline park or something. And it's like, yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
It's been really, really great. It's a position I never envisioned for myself. I didn't have much, hope for my future. And being a part of this organization and watching, like you said, watching these people grow and change and being a part of that. And like with the alumni, it's wonderful because it bridges that gap between like treatment and outside world. And I'm able to be a part of that. And
It also is like a huge connection piece because you bring like alumni back for events and you
Yep.
can connect alumni with, struggling clients or, help them get to that. And then also for anyone that like struggles or falls off the beaten path, like you can help them back to resources as well.
Exactly.
And even not just for them, it's for, like, let's think about how many families themselves all suffer from addiction, right? And then one person gets well and they understand that their loved one can also get well. And now you're the bridge for them too.
Exactly.
It's a way to help touch so many other people's lives in a positive way than you thought possible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is.
It's really cool. It's great. And
I get amped.
it's such a day of like so much sadness, and to see people like do well and get families back, and
Yeah.
these little positions of getting sobriety and jobs, like you said, all
Yeah.
these things. It's like, wow. I remember when you walked in the door and you were a train wreck. You
I
know?
love it when treatment centers invite me in to be a guest speaker for alumni events because there's just so much gratitude in that room. Like the love that like clients have for like their alumni and like how proud they are where they came from, and like you just get fueled off and you're like, yeah, your treatment center rocks. I walk out like like pumped off of them and like their gratitude.
And it recharges you.
It does.
Right? Like every alumni, like when we did this big camping trip up in the White Mountains. It was like 3 days. And then by the time I'm leaving, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I'm so pumped because I'm seeing like, oh yeah, I just, I'm living with my family again, or after this I'm going on another vacation, all this stuff. And it's like, dude, you were homeless.
Yeah.
You were homeless.
It's amazing.
I get amped.
I know. Me too.
It's also really cool, like watching your peers grow. Like there's like a whole group of us that got sober together, and like I get to look at them where they're on their lives, and I was like, dude, I remember like 2.5 years ago you were in detox with scabs all over your face, and now look at you, and I'm just like, wow, this is so cool.
It's absolutely like phenomenal. That is the best thing is what I'm sure even like you watching sponsees watch their lives come back together.
Yeah, you're like, when did this happen?
And you feel like a proud mama bear, and you're just like rooting for them, like go, like
do we have anything to do with it? Because we don't.
I know, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
so the show's over.
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that worked though. See, that worked right there.
See?
It worked. Thank you for coming on. You were great. So if you're watching the show, you're struggling in any way, you want to get in contact with Sarah, reach out to her at
Anyaddictions.com.
Anyaddictions.com. You can also send us a message on our Facebook page. I'm a heroin addict. Would be more than happy to get you in contact with Sarah, get you in contact with Bobby or myself. And thank you for watching. And as always, we love you.